these guys smoking cigars. Same.
There's a lot of great comics that got trapped in that writer's world.
Yeah.
People never found out about them. It's a tragedy. You know, like to this day, I say Owen Smith is one of the greatest fucking comics alive.
Yeah.
And people don't know who he is, unfortunately, other than people talking about him. Because you can make a really good living doing what he does. He makes a very good living as a writer and a producer. But when you watch that guy do stand-up, you're like, how is this guy not huge?
Yeah.
How is he not selling out theaters and stadiums? He's fucking excellent.
Yeah.
His timing, his writing, everything's excellent. He's far beyond. You want to talk about a guy whose ability is far beyond his name. It's Owen Smith. In my book.
Yeah.
That's my number one guy.
I love Owen too. Yeah. I see him at the store all the time.
He's my number
very
one
funny.
guy in terms of like underrated guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I think once you get that writing opportunity, you kind of decide what. Some guys just gravitate towards it. You know, some people get into stand-up. They do it for 4 years. They get a writing gig, and they're happy. That's all they wanted to do. They weren't like real stand-ups. It was kind of a springboard for them. But there's some people who do it, and they're like, it's like a deal with the devil a little bit. Like, yeah, you'll get complacent. You'll get tired at night. You don't want to go out and do a set. Some money's good. Maybe you have some kids and a wife, and then you're in this like golden cage. Yeah.
Yeah, Tony was telling me how when he was doing it, he did a lot of writing, but he never stopped doing sets. And they would say, man, come on, come out with us for drinks. You don't have to do a set. And you'd go, what? What the fuck did you say?
Yeah.
And his mind was very clear. He's like, I am a comic. I am doing this writing thing for money while I develop an act to be one of the best comics in the world.
That's how I approach it too. When I was writing in the room, because people were like, oh, you should just like keep on doing it and just go down that writer path. But the thing is, then you like put out your flame. Like the whole reason I got the job is because they like my stand-up. Every opportunity I've gotten in Hollywood is because of my stand-up.
Yeah.
So why would I extinguish my superpower? You know? Because then you just become a writer, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that's more common than a very good stand-up.
It's like, how do writers know if they're funny? You know? I mean, you know if you're funny when you interact with people.
Yeah.
But I guess you know you're funny if you're funny in a room. Like perfect example, Matt Stone and Trey Parker, the funniest fucking guys on earth. They don't do stand-up. But South Park is one of the greatest shows the world has ever known, if not the greatest comedy show of all time. It's a real good argument that it's the greatest comedy show of all time. The greatest cartoon of all time, for sure.
And for how good it is, for how long, is amazing. I don't know any show has had that type of consistency.
Insane. And apparently it's just Trey Parker. He's a fucking complete maniac.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched that show? What is it called?
7 Days to Air or 6 Days to Air?
Something like that, whatever it's called. It's a great documentary.
I love that inside baseball stuff. No matter what the subject is, I'm so fascinated.
It's interesting to see how the sausage is made, you know? And it's a lot of it is Trey Parker. There's people like that are just wizards.
Yeah.
You know, they just have a thing, and they know. And obviously he's got a system completely down, and they hire great writers, and you know they've got people at Comedy Central are smart enough to leave them the fuck alone, which is rare. You know, to have a network, it just sort of goes, go ahead.
But it's nice when you do have a conglomerate like that just trusts the artist, because look what gets produced. I think it's tough when you have a lot of cooks in the kitchen who don't. My favorite things artistically are pretty singular in vision, like Chappelle's show.
Right.
They didn't have a lot of meddling in that, you know?
Yeah. Well, they started to meddle when it started to make a lot of money, and that was one of the reasons why Dave quit. When Dave, got the offer, it wasn't the money that corrupted him, where he's like, I don't need this $50 million. It was what it came with. It came with them trying to censor the show to make it more friendly to advertisers. Like they were literally telling him, don't say this, don't say that, do this, don't do that.
れが古竜の力。うっかり落ちないようにしないとですね。もうそろそろでしょうか。
ねくねく
行ってみましょう。こっちです。相棒、目が覚めましたか？一体どうも。じっくり探索。確かにいい案かも。そういえば行きましょう。 キャンプを作れそうですね。調査資源管理所に相談してみましょうか。
And Dave was like,
Yeah, I don't
I
need
see
this.
the fucking writing on the wall here. And it's quite a legendary move to fucking vanish for 10 years. And do you remember when he was doing shows in like Seattle?
Yeah.
Where he would pull up with like a little portable speaker in the park and do a stand-up set, and everybody's like, what the fuck is going on? Is that Dave Chappelle?
Yeah.
And he would just set up shop in the park and do stand-up.
It just added to the legend. I think at the
Yeah.
time, the world was like, what a dumb move. He's going to regret this. Because I guess that's not betting on yourself to people, you know?
Yeah.
Or it is betting on yourself, and they're like, why would you do that? And then from the vantage point that we're at right now, like, what a move.
Yeah.
Fucking legendary.
Yeah, it just increased. And then when he came back, you know, he came back and started doing shows and kind of got into the groove again, and then started killing it, and then started putting out specials, and then getting attacked.
What's your take on that? What do you think is going on?
Well, for sure, the Will Smith thing opened up the door to the idea to that guy, the guy who attacked Chappelle. And it's also, you know, there's a narrative that his jokes are transphobic. They are not. That set is not transphobic. That set, if you really watch it and pay attention to it, it has a transgender person in it who he loved, who was a good friend of his, who he had open for him at shows, at least one show, and talked about with great love and respect, and with humor. But it wasn't transphobic.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was about it. It had to do with a trans person. But we live in this weird era where you can't even make fun of a thing unless you're a bad person. You're a hater. Like fun equals hate now. It's like Ricky Gervais is catching a lot of it now for his latest special.
Yeah.
That fucking first 15 minutes of that special is fire. It's fire.
Yeah.
It's the best Ricky that I've ever seen. It's his best shit.
Yeah, and I was telling you too, it's like the Rotten Tomatoes just shows you the disparity between what's going on in the country and what the critics are saying. And same with Chappelle's stuff too.
Well, the critics, you know, what are they? What does that mean? You know, they're just humans, right? But they're humans that are captured by a system. And that system is like, either it's a system that's propagated by social media, or it's a system that, you know, they're on a website that is they're almost all like left-leaning websites that have a problem with it, which is really interesting. You know, it's like the right-wing website. It's like, who would have thought that if you look back on the early days, what we used to think of as conservative versus liberal. Liberal was pro-free speech. People were open-minded, non-violent, you know, and people were open to other people's ideas. And the right was like suppressive, you know, the nanny state, you know, condemn certain language, condemn certain behaviors. That's not the case today.
Yeah.
Today, the left has gone so fucking far left, so radical, that the right are the ones that are celebrating comedians and celebrating Chappelle. And
Yeah,
they had my back
it's
through all the
interesting.
crazy shit that happened with me. It was Fox News that fucking had my back.
Would you ever think that they would be the ones to cape for you, like, you know, 10 years ago?
I'm so liberal.
Yeah,
Like, I talk
I
about
know.
it all the time. Like, I say I am not a conservative. I'm not conservative. But I am pro-Second Amendment. And I am a hunter. And I am a cage fighting commentator. And I drink and I smoke cigars and I like to bow hunt.
Yeah.
So there's a lot in there that's like,
some
hey.
crossover.
Yeah, but it's just being a human. But I'm a compassionate person, and I believe that boy, I'll tell you what though, one thing that happened during this pandemic was it opened my eyes about human nature. Like, I used to be very pro universal basic income. My thought was, wouldn't it be great if you just had enough money so you could eat and you could pay your rent, and then you could pursue what you wanted to. But the reality of human nature came fully into focus when I realized that when some people got all that money from the government, the COVID money, and then they got unemployment, they didn't want to work. I have a friend who has a restaurant. He could not get people to come back to work.
Yeah.
And so one buddy of mine, a bartender told him, I can come back to work, but I can only work for 20 hours a week because that way I get unemployment. So he wouldn't work